So I think in honor of America's birthday, I'm going to tie a freedom nymph. That's what I'm going to call it anyway. There we go. So the materials that I'm going to need for my freedom nymph, and that's what I'm calling it because it's my made up nymph pattern with different colors, are I'm going to use a size 12 curved nymph hook with a patina, I guess that would be a patina color bead. It's different colors and different lights. I put it in the clamps. And then some blue feathers off of a feather, black thread, and red goose bites for the tails and the wings. And then I'm going to use a cotton ball for the white dubbing, making it a red, white, and blue nymph, which makes it my freedom nymph in honor of America's birthday. So, oh, and I can't forget the copper wire. Gotta have the copper wire for the segments of the nymph body. Get started. Started as always. Put the line on the hook. Keep the bead up at the front and run the line up toward the head of the hook, toward the eye of the hook, the thread, and run it back on itself, and then cut off the excess with your thread scissors. And I'm going to run this all the way back to the bend of the hook. I do think I'm going to add some lead wraps to this to add some weight to the nymph. That way it does get down in the water column easier. But I'm going to do the medium wire. That way it's not as bulky on the hook because it is a size 12. That's the heavy. I don't want to use the heavy. I'm going to go with a medium wire and use my metal scissors, my wire scissors, my wire snips. I'm going to start my lead wrap about a 1/16 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch behind the bead to give room to tie down my other materials as I wrap them up. So then wrap all the way back down to where I'm going to end the lead wraps. I'm going to keep it tight as I'm wrapping it along the shank of the hook. And then I'm going to stretch my lead wire up to give it a spot to tie onto. And then I'm going to run my thread across the wire to get up to the securing spot, and then go ahead and cinch on that lead wire and snip off the excess with my wire scissors and cinch that down with my fingernail, and then take my thread back down to the back of the hook, where I'll then attach my copper wire with a couple wraps in front, a couple wraps behind, and then one more on top of the copper wire, and snip off the excess wire tag. Like I said, I like to do my tail bites. I like to shape them in the way I want them to come off the hook and put them on at the same time, because I have better success with that. But you may see other people with varying opinions that don't like to do that, but I do have better success doing it that way. So, and then I'm going to leave those, it doesn't matter because they're not sticking out far, so I'm not going to worry about snipping off the excess of that. I'm going to tear off some of my cotton ball to make my dubbing with on my line for the body of the nymph. And you know what's crazy is if you had a way to dye some cotton balls, you'd never have to order or buy dubbing from another place again, if you could get it whatever color you wanted it to be. It's cotton balls. Cotton seems to work great for dubbing as far as I can tell. It's about the same consistency as the dubbing that I have. If I can get it on here, right? Let me try to do it a little better. I want to make sure I get it on good though, so I want this to turn out good. This is for America and her birthday. It is a beautiful thing that we live in a country. We're free to fish and free to chase any dream we want, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. And any passion we want. And have hobbies and freedoms. But once I get the dubbing on the line, I'm going to carefully wrap it up and around the hook of the body. Make sure to keep your goose bites for the tail on top of the hook. Don't let them swing around to the side. And make sure you cover up everything. And get the lead wraps nice and covered with that goose bite or with that cotton ball dubbing. And then get it right up in that little gap that I left, so I can tie down my materials. And I'm gonna have to tear off some of my cotton ball there because I don't want to run it back down and make my fly too thick. I want to keep it nice and uniform so it is a good shape and not bulky. And now I'm gonna take my copper wire and run it around in a spiral motion up the nymph body, and then I'm going to tie that on. And you make sure to use your wire scissors whenever you're cutting off copper wire or lead wire, so you don't dull out your thread scissors. Put back on, or my feathers put back on, get my goose bite, lay back down. Alright, I'm going to tie my wing casing back down. And snip off the extra. Probably would have been better if I used white thread, but it's okay. Still doesn't turn out okay, I think. Alright. And snip off the extra up front. Then wrap back to cover up the blue feathers that are sticking out right there. And wrap up to cover up the blue feathers that are sticking up right there. And like I said, I don't mind if there's a little sticking out up front, because it does give it like an antenna kind of look on top of the head of the insect, because it is supposed to resemble an insect. So if it does have that little bit right there, it doesn't bother me, but that is my preference. And when you tie yours, you may have your own preference. Let me do some whip finishes to finish it off. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 4th of July, and snip that off and finish it off with a little dab of head cement right there where I did my whip finishes, and put it in the clamps. There's my freedom nymph. Let me see if I can show you up close. And here's my red, white, and blue freedom nymph with the blue wing casing, the red tail and wings, and the white cotton dubbing body. If that's not freedom, I don't know what is. Happy birthday, America.